Hey, it's Diane. So what I do, because I love it that there's so much stuff that I can indulge myself in. And when I was a little kid, I remember I used to have to just find stuff to make or go out on our huge farm and just explore. I mean, our farm had been there for a hundred a hundred plus years by the time I had gotten there. So I am gonna share today. I'm gonna explore Meta AI in the glasses. So I try to just hook these up and have the audio feed through the phone, but it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. Hi. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and reconnect my network here. Um, it's just gonna be an ongoing stream, so you can pop in, you can pop out, whatever. Um, I am gonna make some socks. So I took up knitting in 2010 when Dale deployed. I remember sitting here on our other old couch, and he had left, and it was like the next day after the morning or after the night I had dropped him off, because you usually have to, well, not even the night, it was the early morning, because the thing is they always want everybody there at like 2 in the morning, because that way that'll give them time to track people down, because that is no bueno if you miss movement for deployment. That is a nope. So Dale has always been kind of he's also neurodivergent, and I believe he is on the autism is on the spectrum. For years he did not want socks. And I kept asking him, and then he kept saying, "Oh, they're too hot." But I've been knitting him socks, so I have 3 pairs here, and I'm gonna start knitting more, because I'm talking about my experience in the military. And I realized this because once I started working in the 2 nursing homes that I did, come on, Angel Child, get up here, up, come on. So we have these little dog steps that we used to put down by our bed, but we got a new bed, and so I had to get bigger dog steps. So I put the dog steps up by our couch here. Those jokers don't use it at all. It's like you don't recognize them. I truly think they don't know what they are, because they're in a different spot. So I dug out my knitting stuff, and I made these cool socks so I could wear them with my Birkenstocks, because I wear socks and Birkenstocks. I don't care. Well, I made this, but I don't remember how I made it, because I only have one sock. So not a big deal. And then I found this other sock. So I can basically knit these in my sleep. I started knitting a sock when Dale left. And I remember the way I went on YouTube and I was like, "Oh, I hate this." This was 2010, October 2010. And I was at home that time because my unit was getting ready to deploy, but I had to stay behind because that's when I had been diagnosed with pre-diabetic. So anytime you deploy and you have to take a major type of medication like metformin or heart medication, well, I think I actually had like some high blood pressure or whatever. So they don't want to send you. They won't send you. So you have to stay and basically just you'll go back and talk to your doctor and stuff. So I did not deploy when they went to Afghanistan, but I believe they had only gone for 6 months. I think at that time, or no, they were gone for a year. So hi, hello, how are you? Welcome. I'm just chatting. I could talk for hours. And so I am Diane Howard. I am a retired Army warrant officer. I joined the Army active duty, I joined when I was 32 or 31. So imagine that. I used to work, hello. Imagine that. Oh, it's just okay. Imagine I used to work for the best job in the world and had everything been okay with it. I have no idea where me and my old boss and all our old crew would be, because I used to work for the Star Wars and Star Trek fan club, and they were based in Aurora, Colorado. So next year there is a Star Wars celebration. I call it 20th, but it's not. It's the 50th year next year of Star Wars, and so they're having a huge celebration in LA. Well, I tried to get tickets, but you couldn't buy tickets because scalpers got on there and bought them 20 at a time and sold them out. So if you ever want to go to the Star Wars celebration, the 50th anniversary in LA, good luck. Well, I just normally, under normal circumstances, because I have OCD and ADHD, I suffer from depression and anxiety. Normally that would bother me, like, immensely. It would bother me. But I said, fuck it. And I swear, just to let you know, I swear I'm liberal. I believe in the Second Amendment. However, I believe in human rights. I believe in the Constitution. Again, I've been in the Army, and so I worked for this fan club. And when I got there, it was so funny, because I remember I got there and they're like, well, we're working on this huge celebration. Hello. Oh, yes. And that's the thing. I just discovered I had ADHD. I don't know if you guys experience like pattern. I don't know what type of ADHD there is, because I'll be 56 on Sunday, and I just self-diagnosed myself like this month. And when I mean self-diagnose myself, hello, hi, yeah, I was in the army. Nice name, Skywalker. So I was just talking about how I've lived actually a really extraordinary life, and all for many years I was like, oh, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book, and I've been working with ChatGPT for almost 3 years now, straight every day, and I've discovered a lot of things just because of the way my brain works. I've discovered I have OCD. I discovered that I am neurodivergent. I had never heard that term until I watched the movie The Accountant. And I thought, what the hell? What the hell is this? And we actually had my husband's grandnephew out living with us, because his caretakers were saying that he had ADHD and was on Ritalin, and he wasn't doing well in school. And I understood, because I did not do well in school either. So we took him in, and that was during COVID. And he was 16 going on 17, and it was great. He was fun. That joker didn't have ADHD. So we arranged where he could do distance learning classes from our house in Colorado, and he lived in Iowa. So he did that. And so I had to sit, because we had him upstairs in our spare bedroom, and he wasn't paying attention. That fucker he had everything upstairs. He had YouTube, everything. And he had even cool lights, LED lights and stuff like that. So, which I love him to death, but he really disappointed me. He was going to school. So he was a junior in high school. I started my degree then. I said, well, if I'm going to sit here with you for the next year, I'll take classes, because hi, how are you? And then, hi, liberals have an average IQ about 50. Okay, all right, that's great. That's great. And if you're here to troll, move along, because I don't deal with that bullshit. And you got a great name, Skywalker. And it's really too bad that you have that attitude, that liberals have that IQ of 50, because you obviously like Star Wars. So I was just talking about how I work for the Star Wars and Star Trek fan club. All my life, I've been obsessed with Star Wars. And when I was 7 years old, I saw it in the theater. And we just saw Grogu and Mandalorian and Grogu. So I hope, Skywalker, if you're gone, I hope you have a good day and do some reading and get in touch with your heart, because saying stupid shit like that, especially out here where you don't even know anybody, that's stupid. Don't be a troll, Skywalker. Don't be a troll. Anyway, so I started at the fan club because I used to work for a big accounting firm in Denver. And I was walking to work, and I bought a kids magazine, a Star Wars kids magazine. And excuse me, I'm going to eat breakfast. So if you have any issues, move along. But I bought the magazine, and I was at my office, and I had a very nice office when I was working for that accounting firm in Denver. I was on the 24th floor, and I saw the, did I see the mountains? Yes, I saw the mountains. So I had a really good job. But that's the thing, I just kind of fell into the job. I started there as a temporary, and then the thing is when I start a job, I always see where I can expand if I like that job. So hi again, I'm Diane Howard. I'm just doing live broadcasting all day. This is what I've decided to do. I'm a retired warrant officer. I've had every freaking job under the sun. I used to work for the best company in the world. Excuse me, I'm eating. So I got the magazine, and I called, and it went directly to their call center in Aurora. And I don't remember who I talked to, but I think I might have met him when I started working there, because I talked to him and I said, oh my God, this is such an awesome job. I didn't know. They had been there for years. My old boss had been running his operation for years. So he ran the Star Wars fan club. He had 3 magazines, Star Wars Insider and Star Wars Communicator. Star Trek Communicator. I am so sorry. And I had been a closeted Star Trek fan for years, but I really embraced it when I worked for the fan club. So I used to have to get to the office in Denver about probably 8:30. So I'd leave my apartment on Capitol Hill and I would walk. So I had picked up that magazine and I read through it. And on the back cover was Ula, the slave girl action figure, because the fan club did a lot of exclusive stuff. So I called, and it was only like $15, and I was talking, and I'm like, I didn't know you were there at the fan club. And he's like, yeah. I said, are you guys still hiring? Are you hiring? Yeah, they're always hiring. So I said, I'd love to come down and apply. So I did. I went down and applied. Small office. Oh my God. It was packed full of Star Wars. Guys, we had full-size replicas of stormtroopers in the front, our front office. We had, or in the reception area, we had R2-D2. We had different Star Trek. It was like going to Disneyland. It was literally like, for me, and I've never been to Disneyland, for me to show up to work every day was fantastic. And we're talking about, I worked full-time at the big accounting firm, but I said, I'm not ready to quit. So I did part-time. So I'd get done with work, rush back up to my office, because anybody who's lived in Capitol Hill, Denver, you know that you don't move your car. You move your car and you're never going to get a parking space ever again. So when I started, because I applied, so I interviewed with the manager there, the call center guy, and oh my God, I was like smitten with him. I was smitten. You ever meet people and you just click? That's what it was with me and this person. It really was. And because I've always been really attuned to how people are, and I can see patterns and stuff like that on Yeah, he liked me too. Because anyways, I got the job there. And I had such a good time. Oh my gosh, to talk about Star Wars and Star Trek all night long. And then you could play with your little Star Wars toys if you wanted to, because we shared desks because the office was really small. And hi, I'm Diane, and I'm just talking about my life. I'm talking about when I worked for the Star Wars and Star Trek fan club. Um, and a lot of the desks were rotated because they had shifts. And people had toys and stuff. So I started there. Oh my God, it was so fun. It was so fun. So the buzz about Phantom Menace was out. And we had to expand. And my boss went ahead and he made the executive decision and rented space off of the east side of Denver. If you guys are familiar with Denver, it was off of Colorado Boulevard. So there's big call centers and stuff. So we got that. It was so fun. It was so fun. And I remember at that time, it must have been in April because we were at that call center. And I liked it because it was kind of corporate. We had little IDs. So everybody had special little Star Wars badges that we made. And mine was Ewan McGregor because I've always loved Ewan McGregor. And I think the guy that I had talked to initially on the phone when I bought my Ula slave girl, I think, and I can picture him, but I don't remember his name. He had Admiral Piet as his badge image. So I thought it was funny. Well, we were getting ready to do the Star Wars celebration, the very first Star Wars celebration. And they just asked, hey, Diane, do you want part of it? And it's funny that they asked that because it reminded me when I had joined the reserves. I'd gotten from basic training and back from my AIT. And when I went to my unit, they're like, hey, Diane. And yes, they called me Diane when I went to my reserve unit. We're going to Italy. Do you want to go? I'm like, fuck yeah, we're going to Italy. So that's really the way I felt when my boss had said, hey, you want to be a part of this Star Wars celebration. It was already kind of to the end because I had started there in late 98. And then the celebration was in May of 99. It was in, that's still considered Aurora. Wings Over the Rockies museum. And so I said, yeah, oh my gosh. I was like a kid in the candy store. So anyways, I love working with all the folks. And I remember I happened to be at the warehouse, or I was just in the area when they were getting stuff in for the Star Wars celebration. And this wonderful man, in fact, my old boss sent me a picture of me and Will, which is, I love it because I can picture him and I hope he's doing well. But Will came and got me. He's like, hey, Diane, something came in the warehouse. You want to see it? I said, yeah. People, I shit you not. We had an original Star Wars X-Wing fighter prop. A prop that sat in the back. It was just one that was just supposed to be static. It came in pieces. So the part that came in was the cockpit. And I got to sit in that cockpit. I have sat in original Star Wars movie set model. So I find myself very lucky, very fortunate. And I just want to share my life with people. I've really grown up. When I was younger, I grew up in a Midwest town, not even a town, on a farm near a tiny town. We were Christian. We were, like corn-fed, good old Minnesota corn-fed, ate meat and potatoes, stuff like that. And I didn't know it, but my parents were Republican, which is fine because I didn't know anything about politics. My dad is actually the one who encouraged me to vote. He took me to vote. And truthfully, I think I voted for Ralph Nader. I think because I didn't really know about politics and stuff like that. But I know I didn't vote for Dukakis, and I didn't vote for whoever was the Republican. But that kind of, my dad had instilled that civic duty, and so hi, how are you? Are you still there? Thanks for showing up. My name is Diane Howard. I am a retired warrant officer, Army warrant officer. I've also done so many jobs. I'm talking about my time at Fantastic Media. It was the official Star Wars and the official Star Trek fan clubs. We also had the official Lord of the Rings fan club when I left in 2001. So, guys, I'm just going to talk. I am semi-retired. I retired from the military in 2016. And then I worked as I got a civilian job. I had a contracting job for 6 months and I got paid $30 an hour. I'm just like, okay. And that was with like Argonne Industries or whatever. But I worked down at the Pueblo Chemical Depot. So yeah, absolutely. I was in war 3 times. And you know what? I am very, very political. However, I'm not, I don't affiliate with any party, but I am, and I'm not independent. I don't affiliate because I keep my brain open for seeing who has the best way. I specialize in organizational leadership. I just got my degree a couple years ago, and I plan on getting my master's. Actually, I do plan on getting my master's, but I'm going to wait after this administration is gone. Because the way I plan my life, I got a degree in organizational leadership, and I finished a couple years ago, and I still had 3 years left of my GI Bill. Sadly, I don't have kids, so I wasn't able to pass it on to anybody, but I'm going to use it. And so I started at the fan club, and the buzz about the celebration, and then Will letting me sit in the X-Wing fighter. Oh my God. So I'll put up pictures. I have the X-Wing fighter, but I don't have pictures of myself at the club because cameras really weren't readily available. I mean, our art department had digital cameras. Our art department had, you know, the latest graphic arts tech at the time. There was they were using the zip drives. Anybody know that the big mega, because you got your big floppy disks, the little floppy disks, and then they made a hard zip drive, and I believe that was like 100 megs of data on it, and they had those. So I knew all that because I got that job. I got the job. So yes, yeah. So oh, what was I talking about? So yeah, it was really exciting. So I didn't know much. It was sad because we all got badges to the Star Wars celebration, and mine was all day pass, every day pass. Mine was an everyday pass, and but there was an all access pass. Well, had I been with the company longer, I think I might have been able to get an all access pass to the Star Wars celebration in 1999. But I didn't care. I was there. I was working in the kids booth, and actually I talked to an author. I remember meeting him. He was a young author back then, writing a whole different type of genre, not a genre, but a whole different spin-off of Star Wars for kids. And I remember talking to him later, and I said, I think I met you. And he goes, you know what? I think I might have met you too. Yeah, Everyday Pass was cool. And back then, and I have no idea how much those Star Wars celebration badges are going to be, but they're going to be expensive. They're going to be expensive. And we got ours for free because we work there. So we got a special showing of Phantom Menace Episode 1 in a theater, the whole company. That was so fun. That was so fun because everybody was rambunctious. Everybody was screaming. And when I went to Mandalorian and Grogu, nobody said anything. There, you couldn't hear anything. So I'm in the back, woohoo! Because Dale and I went and got the movie tickets, and the back two very top seats were available. And yeah, Lucky is right. Were available, and you could tell that nobody sat in those seats. Nobody, because my seat was like, it hardly came up, and I was on the end. And my husband's seat, he couldn't even get it to come up. It was like seized. And so we sat on these seats, and I'm like, dang, I said, and that theater had been there for, I don't know, 5 years or whatever. Because nobody wants to sit in those back corners. But truthfully, the theaters are so small these days that it was okay. The only bad thing about it is the sound. So Grogu and Mandalorian had a lot of good sound, but because I was way on the back side, I was only hearing part of it. So I'm definitely going to be seeing that movie over and over because I love it. And I'm really surprised how Star Wars has held on, how it still held the freshness. It still holds the, ooh, my light is flickering. It still holds the wonder that children love it. Children love it. And I remember I kind of scared a little guy. He had a little Star Wars show or shirt on, and I said, "You going to the Mandalorian?" He looked at me, and I said, "Yeah, I saw Star Wars when I was in the theater, or when I was 7 in the theater." And he looked at me like that's like hearing somebody say they were in the Civil War or something like that. But yes, I'd like to say that I am. Yes, I love the Mandalorian. Grogu. Have you seen the movie, Marie? And by the way, my middle name is Marie. So Marie, thank you for chiming in. Did you like it? But so I'm glad that okay. So I put myself on silence, but I still let my spouse squeeze in. So Dale is a very big part of my life. I used to do online dating. In fact, when I moved to Denver in 97, because I lived in Minnesota, and any of you folks who grew up in Minnesota in the 70s and 80s, especially southern Minnesota, it was kind of a strange atmosphere. Okay, no problem. Yeah, okay. So believe it or not, when people meet me, they think that I grew up in California. They think I have a, like I did what every the conventional path of a person in America. You graduate, you go to college, you do whatever. So, well, I kind of veered away. And I have just really kind of stumbled. And it's funny because I have been working with ChatGPT for 3 years. And so I actively talk to ChatGPT. And I understand how to talk to ChatGPT. And I mean the OpenAI ChatGPT. So I've started. And we talk about just my whole life, working for the best fucking company in the world, becoming a warrior, joining the army. I went to Korea my first year in 2002. That was culture shock. Mainly, it was culture shock because that's where I was born, in Korea. But I never consciously remembered because I was 2.5 when I came over. So it was strange to be in my country that I was born in, to be a new soldier, and to be Korean looking in the U.S. Army, because I got so much shit from other soldiers when I was stationed in Korea. You were in the Army. Where were you at? I can talk to anybody. I can talk to anybody. I always tell people 1 year, and it was fact after I came home from, I came home for Christmas in between AIT, because I went to Fort Leonard Wood in 93 in September, October. Oh, you were in Poland. Wonderful. Wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm always interested in other armies, and there's this one woman on she's lovely. Her name is Emmy Maid. She was buying MREs from other countries. So do you know what I'm talking about? The meals ready to eat. What you have those in Poland? The stuff you take out when you go out to the field. They're usually in a box or whatever. Yeah, she was eating those. And I don't know if she had ever eaten a Polish ration. But that's interesting because my primary... Okay, great. My primary job in the Army was supply, quartermaster. So, and my first job, my first job when I went into Korea was warehousing. And I thought, oh my God, it was like, it was like a little mini soap opera. I could go out there and make little mini shows about life in this, and a lot of people would understand. And it doesn't even matter if you were in another country. If you did any military service, you would still understand, because people are still people. And other countries, we all pretty much have the same chain of command and that same structure. So we understand. And the military, we are also, everybody thinks that being in the U.S. military, that, oh my gosh, that's actually the less freedom. Being in the military was the less freedom I experienced as a U.S. citizen. Mainly because I was a soldier 24/7. You're not supposed to do, and we lived here in Colorado. It wasn't legal yet. We had cannabis, but it wasn't legal yet. But when I came back in 2000 and I don't know, it was like 6 or 7, it was legalized. But my whole time I didn't touch it. And no, I realized, and I'd always been just as a kid, I always had a sense of morals. Always had a sense of what's right and wrong. I don't know if it's the ADHD. You are, oh my God, nice. An elite Marine. So, are you Marie Ortiz, or what's Marie do women? Are you a female? Excuse me. Because women are allowed in the U.S. Marines, and I know that they do have elite. All the branches have elite. No, you're not a woman. Okay. That makes sense, because I couldn't be in special forces. I could not be in special forces in the Army. But the thing is I wouldn't want to be. Mainly, if I had been like an amazing runner, if I had been super, super athletic, and we're talking, there are some people who are just naturally athletic, in women and men. I forgot what I was talking about. Sorry. I do that a lot because my ADHD and my OCD is so intense and so fast that my brain runs like this. And so, yeah, you understand. And so I'll be talking about something, but then I'll get sidetracked. So that's why I say I digress. And I never thought about joining the military. I mean, the Marines. I really wanted to join the Navy. The Navy is really the U.S.'s oldest branch. It is technically, but the Army was actually established before the Navy, officially established. So I think technically the Army is a little older than the Navy, but the Navy's been around forever. And then the Army came out with like the militias and stuff like that. We are celebrating our 250th anniversary of our signing of our Declaration of Independence. And it's a big deal for me because I became a citizen of the United States for 50 years ago in 1976 during the bicentennial year. To me, that was I was so proud. I was little. I was like 7 years old. And there was a huge influx of people in Korea or in Minnesota adopting kids from Korea. And I was one of them. And so it was interesting because I don't know if they had put out. And back then, it's like, how the fuck did my parents find out what was going on? They must have gotten a letter because there was no email. Our address was Rural Route 1, Box 126. That could have been anywhere. So I don't even know how we even got any correspondence. But I woke up, went downstairs. My mom's like, oh, you can go back up to bed. She said, I'm taking you and your sister. We're going in and you're going to be citizens. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can go back upstairs and go to bed. But that drive, we got into the car, and anytime I didn't have to go to school, I was totally fine because I hated school. I guess the very first time, and I have a podcast out there. It's called I Digress. It is a podcast memoir. It is out on Apple and it is out on Spotify. The thing is the story I'm telling there is very personal and very emotional for me. Well, I can't even make it through a live stream without crying. But I don't care. Crying is natural. Crying makes me feel good. And folks with ADHD and OCD and anxiety, crying is amazing therapy. Amazing therapy. So they shipped us up. Yep, exactly. We both went, it was so funny because we both went in like street clothes. And then when we got to the courthouse, it was like, I don't know, like 3 hours away. It was a long ways away. But I think they had, yes, I do too as well. And I'm working with that. I am working with that. And seriously, talking like this, I am very fortunate that I am outgoing. I can talk. I can relate to people. I've been all over the world. I've met so many people. I'm OG internet, social internet. I've been on social internet since 1998. And any of you folks who are my age, ICQ. I found ICQ and I met so many people. I even had a little boyfriend from Norway that I had met because I had met 2 men in person in Minnesota and they broke my heart. They broke my heart. And the way my brain works was like, fuck that. Let me try something else. So when I got online and there were all these chat rooms and all these people, it was wonderful. And for people who have ADHD and who have neurodivergence and who can chat with like 10 different people, it was perfect for me. And I didn't even realize I had that ability. And I'd always been a good typer because I taught myself how to type when I was a child. Yes, I taught myself how to type on a keyboard when I was a child. Sorry, I'm going to drink some juice. This is my juice, so I can drink out of the can or the jug. I did the same thing in a way. What did you do? You and I can have a conversation if you'd like. I don't have any problems. In fact, I'd like to talk to you. What is your name? You're the only one in here, so we might as well chat with each other. Hello. What's your name? I've always liked Poland, and we have a big celebrity who hails from, her family hails from Poland, and that is Martha Stewart. I love Poland. Never been there. I've been to Germany. I did not go into Austria. I did not go into Poland. My husband, his mother is German. So we went there and got to visit and stuff. And his uncle actually used to be a guard on the border during the Cold War. So just because of where they lived, he had that job of being like a border patrol for the wall. And that's the thing. People seem to have amnesia. Because you think about it, fascism has always flared up its ugly head. But people seem to have amnesia and don't realize that it it comes up all the time. For whatever reason, and this is because I've noticed patterns. I absorb everything. My brain is like a big giant filing system. And we're talking from the day I remember. My first memory was being 2.5 in my crib, laying down, and I had this little toy and its head fell off and all this stuffing came out. That's my first memory, my first conscious memory. And that's got to be right after we were adopted. So I've constantly been looking around and comparing people and comparing situations. And, I almost lost my train of thought. I think it's gone. Well, that's okay if you don't want to talk, but I'm glad you're here because I don't have any problems just talking to the world. I really don't. But I'm glad that somebody's here. I'm trying to think about Poland. Are pierogies, are those Polish? You want to talk? Talk. I'm going to eat and you go ahead and type. Sorry, I don't mean to be rude. Go ahead and type and I'll just be right here and wait for your response. What's not? Oh, they're not Polish. What are they? The thing is, if you and I were chatting like one-to-one, I would totally ask you to speak in your native language because I figured out what's Candace? I don't understand. Is that an area or another country or what does that mean? I guess because I'm on my phone, I can't Google it because and I love meeting people. When I was in Iraq, Arabic. Okay, that totally makes sense. Because the pierogi is a type of dumpling. And the dumpling, the noodly dumpling or potato dumpling or whatever, that is fucking universal. That is worldwide. Pretty much every culture and has some kind of dumpling, has some kind of noodle, and has some kind of rice and wheat. And that's what people forget is we're all human beings. We are all human beings. We've all been on this planet together. And we've been here for 3,000 years as we are. We haven't really changed at all for 300,000 years. 300. That's why I feel sad because I grew up religious. Although I like the Bible because it was more of like fun stories to me. Because to me, the Bible was actually the first mythic story I learned. And it would actually be kind of fun to do spin-offs of stories from the Bible. Some people might think it's sacrilegious, but I mean, the Bible is public domain, so I can do what I want. My favorite stories were Daniel in the Lion's Den, the freaking Raiders of the Lost Ark. Here I'm calling it Raiders of the Lost Ark because that shit, they did that in the Bible. And I remember in Sunday school, we had our little Sunday school books, and I punched out a little Lost Ark, and we had straws, and you had to carry it around because you could not touch the Ark because you would die, just exactly like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Heck yeah. The thing is I just love that all these actors, have become my contemporary great actors. Harrison Ford. Love that man. I have loved that man since Star Wars. Some of the stuff he's done, but and he's been in, oh my gosh, he's a legend. And then when I saw Sigourney Weaver Oh my God, in Mandalorian. That's the thing. That's going to be my bucket list. I don't care if I have a role. I don't care. I want to be immortalized in a Star Wars film. I do. I don't care if I'm in a uniform or whatever. I can say, yeah, that's me, because you would be surprised for after The Force Awakens came out, the prequels. No, not prequels, the afterwards, the trilogies afterwards. How many famous people were in that fucking movie? And they were like hiding and stuff. I want to do that because I was totally bummed when I was a kid. I was like, well, I think Star Wars showed some different ethnicities. There were, everybody wasn't just white. And then of course they had different aliens and stuff like that. That's why I attach myself to Star Wars so much. And that's really why my old boss attached himself to Star Trek so much, because he could relate. And Star Trek is old, folks. Star Trek is old. Anybody like Star Trek? Because my boss, he was a little person, or he is a little person, and he just couldn't understand why people were so shitty. I mean, that's something it just happens. I have a cousin, her one of her sons also has that same condition. And actually it's very much like my old boss's condition, where it's basically you have normal growth, but then you get stunted growth in your arms and your legs. And in some people it can be oh, he's leaving. Some people it varies. But anyways, they talked about how Nichelle Nichols wanted to leave the show. She wanted to leave the show. And who was it that reached out to her and said, no, don't leave the show because you're amazing. So thank you for showing up, whoever you are, Maria Ortiz. I really enjoyed the last hour with you. Thanks a lot. I'm doing a live stream. My name is Diane Howard. I just have so many extraordinary things to tell. So when I started at the fan club and we did the Star Wars celebration, we had to open up the call center to take calls for the tickets. We were selling tickets. And you could get packets, you could get packages all 3 days, 1 day, whatever. And people were flying out from all over the fucking world. One of the guys just got off the phone with Alice Cooper, the singer, and he was buying stuff for all of his kids. I talked to Neil Patrick Harris. MPH, if you ever come across this, I want to ask you if you really were a Star Wars fan and if you were really a member of the Star Wars Insider, because I could have sworn I talked to you. You called in. I believe you lived in Burbank at the time. And I said, your name sounds really familiar, because you call yourself something else, but then it came up as MPH, and I was like, were you Doogie House? He's like, yes, I know I talked to you, MPH, and I love it, and I love it, and I loved it when you dress your family up as Star Wars. I love it. So, MPH, I guess George Lucas would call in sometimes. We had all kinds of people calling, flooding in. Sadly, in April, that's when Columbine had happened. April 20th, Columbine had happened, and it was terrible. That was really the big school shooting that everyone knew about. There had been a giant school shooting in Oregon. In fact, if you listen to the podcast Small Town Dicks, they will talk to you about that. And it was before Columbine. But because of just the way the news was, we never really heard about it. And everybody knew about Columbine because it was tragic. It was tragic. So Columbine, and in fact, I'm just going to go on for a couple more minutes and then I'm going to get off. I'm going to do hours at a time. And if you want to check in, that's great. Thanks a lot. I wasn't even expecting any interaction this morning. So I'm going to start getting up knitting because, again, I love the Small Town Dicks, and I love Yardley. She's a knitter. I love it. I kind of knew she was. But I've decided I'm going to start knitting some socks and stuff like that. But I'm going to finish my breakfast, and thank you so much for joining me. And I hope you have a spectacular day. And where's that thing? Bye. An hour? No. There we go. How do you shut this off? Oh, end. I'm a dork. Bye. Bye. Have a good day. And until next time, this is Diane with Diane in Real Life, part of an I Digress, a podcast memoir story. Have a good day. Bye.